for that.
All right. And I am going to ask everybody to keep themselves muted unless you're ready to speak or teach, and then we appreciate that. So I'm going to ask the host if they make sure everybody is muted so we can get it done within our allotted hour of time. It's just great. So on our site here, I like to ask the question. If you put your thumb up, if you have ever been a Zoom host before, show your thumb. Go down to reaction and click on the reaction button and you'll see thumb. I see Miss Shirley has a thumb up. Anyone else? Okay. Miss Strickland got a thumb up. It's Young. I love it. I love it. Okay. Well, that's good to know. I like to say to those who are looking at doing it for the first time, and then those who have done it before, I ask you to always fill in and help out. So today we're looking at Zoom hosting on the probably a level one at the level one stage. For those who might be new at it or maybe done it just a couple of times, I want to take a moment and I want us to think back. I want us to think back, even during the pandemic when you couldn't see each other face to face. And the very first time you heard about a Zoom, somebody think back and tell me what your thoughts were at that time. Say, we're going to communicate on Zoom and we can see you on Zoom or we can see you on the computer. What was your thought? Is anybody frightened by it? You can unmute yourself and talk. This is a group thing. Or were you excited about it?
Excited.
Excited. Good. Thank you, Sandra. Excited. And that's the way I felt. Remember, you can feel it anytime you want to. Because when everything shut down, you couldn't even see your family in person. And, and I was home for the first time, totally by myself. And I felt sort of a panic because you looked to the left, nobody, looked to the right, nobody, look at TV, you saw people. And I thought back, because I had been doing Zoom before with another organization, about 4 years. We didn't do it much, but we had done it. And I was on my computer because that was my way I could see faces. And I said, you know what? We could do this by Zoom. We could do, and my mind was just racing. So I started here in Greensburg, Guilford with our group and sort of introduced them to Zoom and had my board members had been local unit president and officer to come on and how we could talk. But I had to train first. So I did some training, not as host training, but simply how to use it. What it did, it helped me get through the pandemic because I found myself on Zoom 4 or 5 times a day, doing birthday parties, doing baby showers, doing receptions, doing anything that we used to do face to face. So that's how I got started. And so with that, and I had to learn back at the hosting part because I had been many meetings, but not doing an awful lot of hosting. So I'm going to take you through some of the things I've learned and some of the things where I think we are and where we can go and the opportunities. And I also let you know that I decided to, since I was home and not working, I decided to make a little money. So I started charging people because people from all over this country was asking at the time, I'm sure other people too, but me about, will I host their baby shower? Will I host this? Well, and I thought, you know what? Maybe I charge $25 or $50. Anyway, I did do some charging. So I'm going to go through this and you see I'm still smiling because it's what I love to do. Well, this is the NCRSP Zoom hosting training. We do it for our leadership and it's been done before. Our agenda today, we're going to talk about signing in as a host, scheduling a Zoom meeting, sharing the link, opening your Zoom app on your desktop, signing in, audio, video participants, managing the waiting room, managing participants, managing chat, sharing documents, and sharing sound. And those of you who've got other things we can, I'm going to take you mainly through the level one, I will say, because on this level is how you get started. And then as you get more, then you'll do more. I have a one session that I do on, I call it level 2, because we talk about um, meeting rooms when you might have 4 or 5 things going on at one time, or you might want everybody sitting in the auditorium style, different things. But I'm going to call this level 1. And plus, Zoom has changed so much since then, and they got additional apps that are fed into this app. So we're going to keep it simple today. And then if there ever a need for us to make it a little go into a second level, then we can do that at some time. So we're going to go through, and I'm hoping you can see my screen as well. But I do start off, and I talk about on this site, it's called installing the app. Most of us now have the app installed. How many of you have an app that you pay to have for the app? If you have the app that you pay for once a month or yearly, will you put your thumb up? Okay. Because you can download the app free of charge, but there are some benefits for paying, and then there are some benefits for having a free app. Okay, not many. I was thinking that we might have quite a few. We'll put the thumbs up and say I pay for my app. I do pay $15 a month for mine if I pay it for the month. I have like 2 or 3 others that I pay for by the year, because I also do all of this in my church, and every ministry, every we call them our teams. Every team, there are 5 of them, they have their own apps because they do so much. So, I sort of manage those, and then they all have a host as well. But I thought I might have more pay, but I do pay. So when you pay for this app, you get some additional opportunities. It says if you do not have the app installed, all you have to do is go to Zoom US and select hosting a meeting to start installation. If you do have the app installed, then we can move to that. So if you don't, and I can tell right now, if you're on here, you have the app installed. You have the app on your desktop or on your phone or wherever you are. Because other than that, you probably couldn't see me and you couldn't hear me as well. Before I came on, when you were hosting, I did a sound check and a visual check. I set up so I will know what I look like and I will know what I sound like. I do that before I ever log on and you ever see anyone. You want to be prepared for that. I do a couple things before you come on. If you're going to be hosting, okay, after you send out the link and all that, we'll go back, take a step back. But you first want to find out, if you're the host, what is it that you want to look like, what you want people to hear, what your background is like, and you want all of those in place. And then you want to see yourself on the screen, because you know you're beautiful anyway, but sometime on that screen, you want to make sure you're lighting. As you look at me today, you can tell I do not have a light facing me. Of course, I went to Staples. I have 3 lights. I've always bought from Staples because they're close to me for like $15, $12 a piece. But what it does, it gives me if I had my light, my face would be clear, my screen would be more precise, and it wouldn't be the blur that you see. I am in a room that has windows, and that's important because you're the host. And then this is what you want to teach your members. You want the light in your face, not behind you, because you want people to see your features. On your Zoom software or your app, there's a place that give you a chance to modify, and you can look at what you look like, what you want to look like. If I reduce my light, you might find more wrinkles in my face, but I try to change my appearance and smooth things out, because you want to look the best you can when you're doing Zoom. You want to always know what's behind you as well. If you notice, anybody who knows me and been on Zoom with me, you notice that I don't change locations often. I like to have a place in my house where I know what my background is, because I do so many. I don't have time to wonder, I got clothes hanging by me or I got this going on. I don't want it to be too busy in the background. So I know when I sit down what my background is going to look like. And that makes it more professional when you are working with your group of members when they're coming on, because you don't want them their attention to be somewhere else, not on you or whoever the main speaker is. And if you are setting up a Zoom for a group of people, whoever that person is who's leading that workshop, This is the kind of conversation you have them. I'm so excited about hosting your Zoom. Pay much attention to your background. Make sure the light is in your face. Make sure you are close enough to your mic. And you want them to look good as well. Okay. So we got our app installed. Let's talk about, all right, to be a Zoom host, you need to have your software. If you're going to host it, you will need to log in to your own Zoom. If you are going to host it, that's on your desktop. Whatever username you use and whatever password you use, it's going to be there. Now, if I were doing level 2, I would take you behind that scene and tell you how to set it up, because there are about 30 or 40 items that you could set up on a lot of things that we are preparing. Do you want everybody to, you want to see everybody's camera? What do you want your users to do and be able to do? Do you want them to share? Do you want to do a lot of things? So it's a lot of information back there, but with level 1, just log in with your username and password and turn your Zoom on, and that's where we are. So as you sign in and you have your own password set, as you sign in, let's go what we got next. You will come to a screen, and this is an older version right here, but it's the same. If you're going to set up a new Zoom as a host, then you can click on here, new meeting, or schedule. You're going to see what happens. When you set up for your schedule a Zoom meeting, I have changed mine to new, but we've scheduled a Zoom meeting. So you're going to create an invitation, because the people you are inviting need to have the link. So you're going to go in, and I can't do it at this scene because I only have one screen set up today, monitor, but you can see what an invitation looked like. You will fill in the information. I recommend on mine, what works for me, because I do so many Zooms, I use a different meeting ID based on that meeting. I have a section that I use where I use for all NCRSP. They don't always use, like the board meeting. If I'm going to set up a meeting, I might use a different media ID. You can let the computer choose the meeting ID, or you can choose one. I let it choose one, not my personal. I only use my personal one when I'm doing additional personal training. So the computer was going to ask you, do you want to take this personal ID? You're going to create your own, or you want to let the computer pick? Let the computer pick. Because what it's going to do on the left side of your software, it's going to keep those meetings listed. I have probably 20 some meetings on the left side of my computer. So when I come to NCRSP, I just click on NCRSP. It's a reoccurring meeting. Then I have one for the board. I might have one for different things that I do. I have about 6 or 7 from a church, but I put them there so that I won't confuse my meetings. And when I get ready to save or record my meetings, I know that I don't have a difficult time finding them because I have set up my meetings. But on this invitation here, it's going to give you information, the meeting ID again, the one tap mobile, and then ways that people can call in, because everybody might not want to see themselves on a computer or even use their computer. Some just say, I just want to call in on my phone. And we don't have much of that anymore, which is a good thing, but those are there. So what I do at this point, I will take this invitation. This is a long way around. That's an easy way to do it, but let me tell you how to do it mostly. You would take this invitation, and it's going to say you will put it on the clipboard, and then I'll copy this invitation and place it in an email. So if I have, and this is what it looks like, you can barely see this. It's meant to clear this up. This is, now you said I did in 2021. For an example, this is scheduling a meeting. It's the computer going to ask, and all you do is fill in the information. Okay, then you're going to save it, and you're going to have a copy of it. At that point in time, and it tells you here, if you're going to see, if your meeting is going to be about an hour, you know, when the free software, you have about 40 minutes. The purchase one, it doesn't make much difference how much time you need. You have the time that you need. A reoccurring meeting, that means that like I do like the I say our museum. I'm on that board. I know I'm going to meet with my board members monthly. So I set that up. So every time I meet with them, I don't have to go back and create an invitation. So you can do the reoccurring meeting. And here I was telling you earlier about the automatically generating a personal ID. You also want to make sure you allow your host to have video. Participants, you notice here I have off. I change that always because I like to see who your audience, see my audience. And then audio, I always click telephone, audio. I try to do telephone and computer because that's going to help me with my sound. When I put that invitation out there, this section is important. Do you want to enable the waiting room, or when you start your meeting, you want folks just to come on in? Or you want to put them in the waiting room and you allow them to come in? And the reason I like to use the waiting room, I have been on Zoom with my church, and we have had some hackers to come in. And at that time, I had trained some people how to host. I wasn't hosting, but I was on that Sunday when the hackers came in. And it taught me that I did not teach them how to get rid of the hackers. Because they could, by the time they figure out, the hackers have done some dangerous stuff. I mean, it was wild. They were like 5 young men came in and literally took over church service. And I kept trying to get them, telling them what to do to get rid of them. So they couldn't get back in. Anyway, we learned our lesson from that. But because there is a way, you click on that name and then you go down and you can get rid of them, and they cannot get back in the meeting that day. Not under the same name. They have to do something else. So it protects the audience and protects you as well. I mute my participants as they enter so that we don't have to have the extra sound in the back. All right. So there are things that you can do to set up, because you want to make sure your Zoom is safe and that you don't have other people take it over, and the host can control all of that. Some people forget, and I do it all the time. You forget that your mute button is not on, and somebody call you in the house and you start having a conversation, and then the whole Zoom can hear everything you're saying. So we try to make sure that we mute everyone and respectfully allow, they can unmute themselves. As a host, you cannot unmute them. Actually, there was a law against that because people might be saying something. They say, well, I muted and you unmuted me, and I was having a private conversation with my husband or my children, so it protects that person. So that's why they do not allow us to unmute unmute an individual. Okay. Carol, can you monitor the Zoom with me as well? Help me out here if I miss something. I'm trying to.
Sure.
Okay. I see a question here, and that deals with what I'm talking about now. It says, I am free, but use the church Zoom site. Okay. Is that a question?
That's me. I'm
That was
sorry.
from
I was saying I'm
earlier.
free.
Okay.
Go ahead, Miss Judy.
Sorry.
Then-
I'm a freebie person and I use the church's Zoom. It's not a question, it's a statement. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Linda, you have a question. That do you need that many phone numbers? Should they be in the same zone? When it comes to phone numbers, most people don't use it anymore. Very few people are really just stuck with their phone unless they are not available. But you don't. When I transfer my invitation to send out to those who are invited, those who attended the meeting, for everybody, I get rid of all of that. I might say one phone number that has the same area code or whatever, but other than that, you don't need it. But one, you don't need all of these different numbers coming in, confusing to some people. So I try to give them just the number and just the meeting ID for those who are on the phone. Then I have the part at the top for those who are going to be on Zoom face to face. I try just to give them the link and just to give them the the ID if necessary. Most of the time I don't do the ID because the ID is also part of that link. And I do that because it's important that when we send that link, we make sure we hyperlink that. Because some people, based on their software, they might press enter or try to click on it and it doesn't give them a link. So I sort of, you can put it in the bar at the top and it'll take you there, or you can go to reply and press enter and it's going to hype that link for you. There are people say, well, I tried to click and nothing would happen. I kept clicking. So I've told many people it's easy to go to reply, as if you're going to reply to whoever sent that link to you. But you go down to that link, put your cursor on the very end right side of it and press enter. And it's going to hype that link for you. Because sometime in your email, you right click on your, depending on what software you're using, it might not show you that you can hyperlink it. Might not have that word there, but you can. If you can't hyperlink it, put it in the bar. It's going to take you to the same place where you are. But many people, especially like when I was doing my family, a lot of them like, okay, hype what now, Lena? But you can hype that link for you so it'll be active. Okay, just like you can hype any link that you do. You do a lot of QR codes now, but the hyperlink works the same way. You just have to put it in there. But yeah, feel free to ask questions so that we can make sure we cover what we want. Okay, you see how I did the schedule here? It's important to schedule your meetings. It's also important to record your meetings as well. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, see how I share the link here? And the part that I keep mostly, I might say, invite you to schedule a meeting, type it. I like to do the type it because we do so much and people forget. And see this link right where my cursor is here? And right now it doesn't look hype. So if I was going to really use this, I'm going to put my cursor. I got you, Sandy. I see you. I'm going to put my cursor here and I'm press enter, so I can hype that link. But it's only going to hype if I do reply. You see all these numbers here? I usually get rid of this because I don't want the person who's looking for the link. They do not want to see all of this. They don't care. It's important. I love using this, but most of the time I just move it. And here, I usually choose New York because I just love to say that word New York. And so I know New York is here. I might use this one, but the rest of them, I just sort of get rid of them. They're not important to me. It just makes it shorter. You don't want people to have a lot to read. I see Sandra's hand up. Sandra. Okay.
Sandra, you're
Okay. You have a question?
Sorry, I was muted. I had you jumped screens and I didn't know if you talked about the recording.
I'm gonna go to it again.
Okay, thank you, dear.
All right. Okay. All right. So here, I'm gonna go to the next screen, Zoom main screen. This is, I dare to do basic because I don't know what you have. Zoom has had so many updates and they're gonna look so different, but basically you're gonna have a screen that says mute on your screen, at the bottom, unless you're using another version, and it's at the top. If you were sharing, it's gonna be at the top. So you're gonna have the word mute. You're gonna have, you see my cursor here, stop video, share content, participants. When you are hosting, the first thing I do is open up participants. Why? Wonder why I do that? Because I want to be able to, when I click on host, I can see everybody's name as they come in. I can see them if they're in the waiting room. I can also see if they can hear me and see me. If I look at, let's say, Sandra's name, and I see Sandra only has a camera, I say, Sandra can't hear us. Because if she could hear us, we can't hear her, and she can't hear us. I know then that she came in on using software and she did not click her computer to say she needs both sound and video. So she only got video. Some I see with just sound, but no video. Most of the time, that's a phone. I know that's a cell phone. That's a phone that they're using. I can sort of, as a host, I have to keep my eyes on that as well. I keep my eyes on who is coming in and if they are okay. It is my job as host to make sure that they can both hear and both see, and that they are part of the meeting. So I have to keep my eyes there. I also ask, as a host, I will say, I like to recommend that they put their name or whatever organization is, if they're I'm using AAUW because it's another organization, or NCRSP local president. I like to know who that audience is, and so that I can see them. Then people choose not to do it, but I like to ask that question. If I do it for my church, I don't expect the congregation to do it. But at church, when I first started, I trained 5 people to be hosts. And I had them watching different sections because they were all new at it. Somebody would watch the waiting room. I had 2 people watching the waiting room. I had somebody watching, because we had children, watching the children, make sure they was visual and we could see them. And those that we didn't need to see because they were still in bed, we could take their picture away. They couldn't ever put it back. Because I told them, if you come on here and you in the bed, children, or you're doing something totally different, then we love for you to be in, and I would do Sunday school, a lot of times Sunday school, but we need for you to participate. So if you're in bed and you sleep and you just got your computer on, we are going to hide your picture. So maybe you can listen to us in your dreams. That's just a true story. Because babies will do all kind of things. We love them, but when mom and dad not looking and they in the room by themselves, I have to make sure that they are comfortable. I'm sorry, my door's ringing. I got people painting my house. Hold on. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna mute for just a second and call my son, tell him to get my door. Apologize for that, guys, but it's just to take a second. I am just see who it is at my door. I am back. I apologize for that. I apologize for that. I got like 5 people painting my house. I apologize. Um, so we're going to go back, but that's also help. But please ask questions about something. I apologize for that. Okay, testing your video. I talked about that earlier. Changing the video outlay, layout, active speaker view, gallery view. Many of you, everybody I'm looking at right now, look like they are on the screen. So on my screen, they are on gallery view. That means that I can see everybody. Okay, I can move my gallery view as wide as I want to and as small as I want to. You're going to either be at the top of my screen, on the right side of my screen, and the way I have you now, you're covering my screen. So I can see everybody's face and I can see your smile, I can see your name. So that's the view that I use. I only use the speaker view when we have a main speaker. If I am hosting a Zoom, if I'm really the host and I know there's a speaker, I will pin that speaker so nobody can see anybody else but that speaker and his or her slide. So that's when I'm hosting. I try to, because we want everybody to give that person the attention. So nobody can see anybody else but the speaker and the slide. And that's called pinning. And you do that by clicking on that person's name to the right and you click on pin. What it does, it keeps the attention on the speaker, not on everybody else, not on your friends. I won't be looking at Linda to see if she's having dinner. I won't be doing I won't be looking at Carol to see if she's drinking water. I only want my audience to see that speaker, and I want them to see that slide or whatever they're showing, that visual. Okay. Sandra, I see your hand up. Sandra?
I'm coming. I got to get back from what I was looking at. When you have the full multiple pictures on the screen, and say you have 100 participants, are all 100 people on that one screen, or are you having to scroll?
You will probably have to scroll. It's not going to show you over about 25 or 30 on one screen. You have to, there's an arrow to your right or to your left or to the top or to the bottom, and that arrow will take you to the next level. Even on your phones, you just use your finger and slide it over. And this why, but what to me makes it better, when you're doing professional hosting, you don't want to see anybody else. Most people, many times I will set it up so you won't ever see anybody in the audience, because all I want you to do is log on and you will see just maybe the moderator and the speaker and their slide. You won't see anybody else doing the whole segment. I do that in advance, and you do that by going behind Zoom and doing that setup. If you know that when you do a lot of professional Zooms, you'll be wondering, oh, there are 500 of us on here, but you don't see but 2 or 3 people. That's purposely done because you want them to hear that presenter and hear that speaker. So you want, because keep your focus. That's
okay. Thank you, dear.
But that's definitely a setup. And then here it says the virtual background. I talked a little bit earlier about the virtual. I don't use a lot of virtual background because you bleed into them and they float here, especially if you don't have a green screen. Now you can go out to Staples and Best Buy and buy those green screens. I'll have some, put them back here so I won't fade into the wall and the trees behind me as if I'm in Bahamas someplace. And then every time I move, I look like I left the Bahamas or I got Bahamas with me. I don't do the virtual background. My computer's a little older, I'm using now. If I use my laptop some, I might set up a virtual background. But if I'm really talking about that area, sometimes when I teach Sunday school, if I'm like I did Christmas, I was doing a thing on Bethlehem. Of course, I'm going to be in Bethlehem. So I'm going to get me a green screen and I'm going to put Bethlehem behind me. So I'm going to tell my stories. I'm traveling through Bethlehem. But right like now, it's just whatever I have in my room.
Question.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, Judy Wiggins. So 2 questions. So one, I think you have it set up to where we can only see you. Yes?
I don't. You might have it set up that way.
Okay, I have it set up that way. Okay,
Yeah,
second question.
At the top, if you see gallery and you see speaker view.
Right, I've got side-by-side speaker click.
Right. Now, if you change that, you can see everybody in the room.
Right. Well, okay, so I have it set up that way. Okay.
That's the way.
So the next question is, when we pin that person that was the speaker, how do you unpin them? Same way?
You have to go over and do the same thing, yes.
Okay.
Pinning is really good, especially with young people, which I would say young people, children. Like, if I'm going to do a Zoom with, let's say, 1st and 2nd graders, it doesn't take much to take their attention span. So if I'm going to teach them, I don't want them to see anybody in the classroom. I want them just to see the teacher or see what I'm doing. It's really good professionally as well, like I said earlier. So it's a good tool to know how to use. System requirement for virtual background. I talked about the green screen. You know how green screen works. You saw how they do the weather on the news, and sometimes if they forget and they have wear green or wear the wrong colors, they bleed right into that green screen and they wearing those items. So if you want to wear a tree, you want to wear part of Bahamas, and just get on there without a green screen, you'll be hanging in there. Videos or microphones off by attendance. Okay. You can decide if you allow extra video, extra mics, that type thing. And I talked a little bit earlier about using light. I cannot stress lighting enough. Lighting is clarity, and I can tell the difference between doing this. And I don't use a lot light now because I really have them 2 or 3 other places, and I don't really want to buy another one. But that light is so important. If you're going to do a Zoom hosting professionally, especially those who really want to show, you really do need to get one of the clip-on lights, and they're going to have about 5 settings. One is going to be daylight, one's going to be moonlight, one is going to be a yellow looking light, and there are different times you use different ones. So it all depends. If you're in a room with windows everywhere and it's over bright and you haven't done your setting, you want to dim it a little bit, but you still want it facing you. You don't want to do. It's just like right now I have 2 monitors. And sometimes the monitor makes a difference. On both monitors, I'm 2 different colors. My complexion, 2 different colors. Even though they are using the same software. Managing participants. The biggest thing about hosting, the biggest thing, somebody got to take care of the participants. That's your job. As the host in a meeting, you can manage the participants by default. Any participant in a meeting can share their video, screen, and audio if you allow it. If you allow that. We could set it up so that you couldn't, you have no option. You're always muted. We can't see you, nor can we hear you. We can set that up if we wanted to. That's part of your Zoom hosting. And you do this in advance when you're scheduling your meeting. Or you can change it during the meeting, but you don't want to spend your time changing that. You want to set it up in advance. All right. You can limit who can share their screen, their video, and their audio. The host has the control. Just last week, in one of my organizations, I was doing, there was another lady doing the hosting where she wasn't going to be there, but she set it up and all we had to do was click on it and she left it on. Well, she left on too long and it went off by the time we had to log on. And so I waited for a while and then I said, let me go in and figure out the password so I can open the Zoom up for 10 or 15 people waiting for a meeting because she was already over at UNCG doing a workshop by now. So I opened it up and I set it up. And so there were those who came. Some didn't get there, but most who came. But I had to leave. I had to leave because I had another something to go to. So I told the lady, I said, your name is right under mine. When I log off, you will become the host because Zoom is going to automatically assign that hosting job to somebody else. Well, I logged off. But what I forgot is that I had another Zoom, which means that I was using that same Zoom. So when I logged off and totally signed out of it, of course, they lost their Zoom because I was in a hurry, wasn't thinking. I should have used one of my other Zooms. They would have still been having their meeting. And because it cut everybody off. And then the next day, during vacation, we did a program called Kingdom Disciples. And so the person who was leading the Zoom, hosting the Zoom, daughter had got in a car wreck. So he said, I got to go. My daughter's been in an accident. So I said, and I thought, okay, that means the next person in line is going to be the host. Well, the next person in line had never hosted before. And I said, okay, looks like you're the host. She said, I don't know what that means. And she panicked and she got off. So you want to make sure that if any emergency come up, it's always good to have more than one host, that next person understand what it means to say that I'm the host. So when she didn't understand that, she panicked, got off, but she didn't cut it off. So she just got off. So here she was stuck being the host, but she wouldn't get on the computer anymore. So here we are on this Zoom with our host decided they're not going to do anything. So anyway, I end up, I say, okay, everybody, we're going to log off and go log right back on. But it's just that you have to know that host is a big responsibility. As the host or co-host in a meeting, you can manage the participants and you can mute, but you cannot, I got here including mute and unmuting participants. Okay, you can unmuting people. Most Zooms are set up that you cannot unmute. So, and purposely done. So I would like to recommend that you always leave so that you cannot unmute because you open up for a lawsuit, okay? So you don't want to unmute somebody unless they want to be unmuted. Our waiting room, we talked about that, how to get in. You came in and it said you in the waiting room, let the host gonna let you in. Managing chat. I think most of us understand chat when you write in there that everybody can see it. And if you can designate it to one person for your chat as a host, you monitor the chat. you monitor that as well, because you want to make sure if there are questions. As a host, I like to always ask people to put their question in the chat, and I like to have another person. You know, when you're hosting a meeting, it's good to have more than a co-host and a host. So you got two different jobs. It's good to have that. Just be there for each other. It's just like anything else. You're taking care of each other. Sharing. We talked about screen sharing. At the bottom of your screen, you're going to see the word share. You see that word share? And it's green. If you click on that little up arrow to your right, it's going to say either you have permission, don't share it though, either have permission to share or you don't. The host can give you permission to, everybody permission to share. The host can say, look, no, I'll do all the sharing. I love it when I host and people want to do their own sharing and you allow them to do that. But sometimes people, you know, especially professional speakers, they'll just say, look, just share for me. And that's okay too. But if you as the host need to know what it means to share. Before, when I get ready to host a Zoom, if I'm going to share, before I ever open up my Zoom, I go to those documents, I open them up and I minimize them. I had one last night. I had about 9 documents at the bottom of my screen because I knew before that big, so I had to share all those documents, but they all minimized. And I put them in order based on when I need to share them. So if I'm going to share the agenda first, I open it up and I minimize it. I don't do that one first. I do that one last, because the last one you do is going to be the first one you do. So it's going to bring me to the screen you see here. And it's going to have all of those documents on this screen. I click on the one that I want to share first. I click on share at the bottom. Then I click on the document I want to share first. And then I'll say, okay, and I share it. If that document is another website, and if it has sound, there's a place on here that says share computer sound. If you don't click here, I don't care if you're showing a video or something, it won't hear it because you haven't clicked sound. There's another place at the top of your screen where it says more. It's going to say share computer sound. So the host is responsible for sharing documents. And if that document has sound and you want the audience, your group to hear that sound, you need to click on that as well. Once you click on that shared document, it's going to cover most of your screen. So you have to get used to knowing that the participants are on the right side, up top, or at the bottom, or somewhere else, because they're not that important anymore. This is why I think it's always good to just, if you're going to do a lot of that and you're not expecting a lot of conversation, just show your slides or show whatever visual you're going to show, and then allow participants to do question and answers at the end. Sharing your screen content, second camera. If you got more than one camera, you can do both at the same time. Sometimes I have 3 cameras on one. So I might have one, I'm gonna show a different angle or something that's visual. And and you know, when you get into level 2, you might have more than one camera, more than one visual coming in, or more than one program coming in. But that's a different level if you want to get to that type of thing. Video layout options while sharing the screen, switching windows during sharing screen, optimizing a shared video clip in full screen. That's when you need to make sure if it has sound, you click on sound. Sharing computer sound during sharing screen. I love the music. I love to play music, especially with my church. I like to have the gospel music playing, so they coming in to Sunday school or church service, that they can have some music. So I always share that, but it might be, music might be coming from YouTube, or it might be coming from somewhere else, Syria Radio or something. And I like to share that, so, and I want them to hear it. So as they log on, they'll listen to music. Or some come on 15 minutes early. And then as I get ready to do start the program, I will stop my music, stop my sound, and then make sure the sound is available for each person participant. I think I see a question. Can a host see a comment that's made? No, they cannot. If you're sending a chat to a person and you don't want anybody else to see it, just make sure you put that person's name there. And mine is set up even when I can go back. When it's over and I record it, and even when I go back, I don't have it set up that I can see what that comment was. Because some things that Zoom want to be private in that matter. Okay, because you can go back and see any chat you want to that we want you to see, and we can go back and see any video you want to see. And so I choose not to have that set up so that I can see anybody's chat. All right, I'm watching my time because I'm not right now. Okay, recording. We talked about recording a little bit earlier. Zoom will announce when it's being recorded. Purposely done, because you have to follow the law. When you're going to record something, you need to let people know you're recording it. Okay, you can record it to your desktop or cloud. If you record it to your desktop, remember that's your computer, and wherever you put in it, it's going to take up a lot of space. Okay, so if you buy some cloud or use some free cloud, you can save it in the cloud, but you have to make sure you have cloud space to save it. And then if you need that video again, you just go to the cloud with your password and username and get it. Or if it's on your desktop, I have an external hard drive that I use that has like 3 or 4 trigs. I use this, paid about $40 for it. I think it's, y'all still there? Here's some click. All right, what I do most of all of my Zooms on, and I keep this. It's for my Zoom videos on that I plan to keep. So it's made a difference. It's been the best $40, not about $40 or $50 that I've had in a long time. And it does really well. I have more than one, and I just use that for a lot of the Zoom ones, like I do because I have them for my church. And then I have them for different organizations that I need to keep a Zoom for to go back. Questions? Okay. Now, I'm not going to do the practice today, and if you want to do it, you can. It says log on to your link. I do a session where we do the practice, where you get a chance to put this to practice. Okay, and on that. So because I tried to cover this within the hour time, to give you a chance to ask some questions and to see, I am going to stop sharing here. And what I have on this slide, of course, will be posted. But what I want to take a moment to do is, because no matter what kind of session you do, if there are questions or things that you practice and you're in front of your computers, a cell phone is going to be a little different. A tablet is going to be a little different. Your laptop depends on your software. It's going to be a little different, but basically they all going to do the same. They just located in a different place. On your cell phone, the biggest issue I have with hosting, when somebody's online and they're using their cell phone, they forget to press the sound so they can't hear us and we can't hear them. They forget to press the little headphones at the bottom, and then so you can hear sound. The other thing is that they might not want to scroll over to see where the chat is, or they might want to see who is participating, who is on here, and you just use your fingers to slide over, just like the tablets you do. I like to work with my desktop because my desktop is still and settled in a place. Many times I do have to use my laptop just because I'm mobile, and that's okay. So you can take that software and the same username and password on your phone, on your laptop, on your tablet, and on your desktop. You don't have to have 4 different programs. It can be your same packet that you do through Zoom. The $15 I pay, it doesn't matter what I'm using. I can use that same Zoom no matter what program I'm using. Okay, I try not to do my church one personally because I share that password with some other people, And I try to keep those separate. I try to separate church, business, and my family. I use the same software with my family. I just have a separate personal ID for my family. Because I do a lot of seeing my family from across this country, because they need to know who, they need to see me and I need to see them. Want to ask some questions? Anyone who's done it before, many times before, please see if there's anything that I missed that you need to share in about Zoom hosting. I'm going to say just one thing that's very popular now, and I've been doing it for a while. We do a group I am do a summer camp. We have 200 girls, STEM camp. Well, close to throughout the summer. They're not all at one time, but many times we've had about 100 one time. And they all take different classes. We were doing this since the pandemic, since 2000. And sometimes they want to take different workshops. They don't all want to take robotics. They don't all want to do Internet of Things. But these are my STEM girls, camp people. They pay to come. Anyway, because it's done by an organization. It's a nonprofit organization. So we offer a lot for STEM. So they're taking 5 or 6 different classes. At that point, it's a lot to host. So I will put, we got a young ladies who they know this well, these students know, they are the main hosts. And then we do the sub-hosting facilitators. So that facilitator might have 25 students in her class. The one, somebody else might have 25 in their class. And I'm just saying this because you can set up your computer to go in the back and sit behind the password, and you can set up how many breakout rooms you want. And then your host will assign them based on the classes that they want to take. And so when all you do is click that one button, it says breakout rooms. So it'll automatically put them in the rooms that you've assigned them to. So if I want to take 3 classes or 5 classes, it's the computer, it's the Zoom itself is going to put me in my room where I'm supposed to be at that time, and it's going to send me back when I need to finish, whether, you know, and that host, as a host, you are handling all of that. You are not the facilitator, you're the host. So it's up to you to say, okay, it's time for everybody to go to the classroom, and you send them to the classroom. The class is 45 minutes. It's time for you to come back to the main auditorium. And so we're going to have a large group session. Classes may start again, you know, but all of that can be done through Zoom, and we've been doing it, and it really works well. And it's really good for people who just don't want to leave home and they still want to do things. They want to be involved. Okay, I think I have another question in Zoom. It says here, oh, okay, thank you, Dee. Any questions, anything else that you think that you'd like to know? I do want you to know, thank you for the staff and Linda and all of making these workshops really helpful, and to put them on so that you can go back and look at them. And you always need to know that all you got to do is call me if you get stuck or have any questions, and you know, I answer my phone, send me an email and I answer. Madam President.
I'm just puzzled because a while back, a couple years ago, when we first started doing this, I was having problems with Zoom. I was just kind of getting started. And Tama, who's like, she always figures everything out. She told me just to have my own personal ID, and every time I just click on my personal ID, and I can't remember what the problem I had, but the problem went away, because before I was doing it just when it generated it automatically and gave you different IDs. And so I don't know what changed, but all I can say is that for me, using my personal ID every time, it works. So, I mean, I don't know if I should even say, but if you're having problems with generating them automatically, maybe just the personal ID would work. But Taylor, do you remember what that was? I think you figured it out. Every time I've had a problem.
You mean as far as setting up the meeting?
Setting up the meeting.
Yeah.
You have the option to generate a new link every time, or just use the one that you have for whichever one it is for your organization. And then you can schedule your meetings ahead doing it that way. And it will allow you, if you meet, say, the first Wednesday of each month, then it will let you set it up so that the first Wednesday of each month, that is already in place with that specific link.
Okay, and that's kind of, I guess that's kind of what you were saying. Lena,
Yeah,
do you do that?
I use my personal ID always with my family, but what I do, because I have those meetings set up, it's just easy for me to share when they keep the link going. And I try to keep that same link. I create a link that I know that ends in a certain number, and I know that's my family, and then I only use my personal ID with my close family, brothers and sisters. But the others, I do it differently. It's just easier to send, it's easy to share. But I also have to be very careful, because if I choose not to do a waiting room, and sometimes there are things you don't want people just to come in, so that's why I flip mine a little bit, because sometimes you're busy and you just forget to look over there, and somebody's in that room that you don't want to, especially when it comes to family. If it's just my brothers and sisters, and somebody might say, well, I see mama on talking to Aunt Lena, and they're gonna flip on. We might not want the children to hear what we're saying. So I flip just for that purpose only. But it is easy to do. You can set it up, and then you can see them all on the left-hand side of your screen, all of your meetings coming up. It's a good way to schedule. I have NCRSP, all those on the screen, but it is good. You can do that. Same my personal ID.
Well, I'll have to try that.
Yeah. I see here, she was saying, can the host see a comment now? Not on the general view. Right. If you look behind this, when you go into the Zoom USA and you put in your username and passwords, don't forget to look at your settings. You can scroll all the way down. It gives you so many options of things you can do, and some things you probably never thought of. And now the Zoom has so many attached apps to it. There are, Cahoots are there. There are a whole lot of apps to it. And the thing, put everybody in the auditorium seat. If you get tired of looking at them like this, you can put everybody in a seat. You can just do all types of things now. Zoom is just going crazy. So enjoy Zoom, enjoy it. It's a blessing, I think, that we had, though a lot of organizations who didn't use it went down, non-existence. But thank goodness for Zoom that NCRSP can still stand today. And Zoom was some of the reasons, because we held on to a way to see each other. We couldn't touch and feel you, but we could see you. Okay. Let me tell you this story, then I know it's time to go. The one thing that we took Zoom to a different level, another group of retired educators, we decided we wanted to have dinner together. So the president and I set up the Zoom for our lunch meeting, called the restaurant, and had food delivered so that we all would have dinner together. We all eating, we all on Zoom, but the Texas Roadhouse delivered food to all 38 of us. So we had good meals on Zoom. I wouldn't recommend that. That's a lot of work, because I had to get those reservations and get the restaurant to get them back there, and even have my son deliver. But they rung the doorbell and they would say, "Oh, somebody's at my door," and we served them lunch. They had to let us know what they wanted. But it was fun. It was fun, but it was a lot of work to get that done, because we want to make sure everybody get fed, because some people live so far out and they thought about that. But many times we've had meals together on Zoom, and we've had snacks together on Zoom. So we can do a lot of things. All right, guys. It is 3:59, and I tell you we're like an hour. If you ever have any questions for me or anybody else on here, please let us know. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lena.
Thank you.
Yeah, and this is being recorded, so we can stop the recording, and I know Julie makes
Thank you.
stuff on